Our guest today is one of the true giants of the people development profession. Professor David Clutterbuck is the last fully active survivor of the pioneers of coaching and mentoring. He co-founded the European Mentoring and Coaching Council, which is also a pioneer in setting standards in an otherwise unregulated profession. He's influenced, and as listeners will hear, continues to influence the development of coaching and mentoring as a profession and practice that has such potential to bring about positive change. He has authored and co-authored more than 70 books embracing coaching, mentoring, developing coaching cultures, and talent management. He is a practitioner who brings an academic approach to his thinking and his work. These provide the lenses through which he explores the world of coaching and mentoring and how he views, with reason and logic, how the coaching profession will develop in the future. Professor Clutterbuck has continued to update and evolve his understanding of one of the most important concepts in people and organisational development today. Today, he shares this with us. This is a unique opportunity to learn from a true master of his craft.
David, I'm interested in going back to something that we spoke about a little earlier. You spoke about the 4 stages of maturity, and I can certainly buy that. My question is, can everybody, and I suspect the answer, I know what the answer is, can everybody who's at stage 1, is very, very operational, is using, at the Grow model, for instance, can they actually evolve to the stage 4 level of maturity, which is a much more strategic and much more big picture perspective of maturity and, as it applies to coaching? Because my experience of working in organizations is I find great operational people at one level in an organization who will never make it to the higher levels of an organization because they just aren't made that way. So what does this tell us about the future of coaching?
Well, I think you're absolutely right that there are certain innate characteristics that you need to be able to grow into being into higher levels of competence. So if you happen to be short and fat, and for example, and you want to become an Olympic sprinter, you're probably not going to. You're going to have some limitations. I mean,
yeah.
So the same thing would apply. There are intellectual limitations, the ability to think systemically, for example. Not everybody can get that. It requires a mental architecture that's open to overlapping patterns, for example. So we don't know enough about what to be able to put people into boxes. Now, I only believe you put people into boxes when they're dead anyway. But the notion that we can that everybody can go from being from applying the coaching model is to being a masterful coach is just fanciful. I mean, mastery is about breaking the rules, not sticking to the rules. Yeah. It's knowing when and how to break them. It's about knowing how to bring other things in. So not everybody is going to become a masterful coach. And that's okay. Depends upon upon where you're aspiring to be. I think more worrying is the client side. We did this piece of research for the conference board last year, and we were asking HR directors about the challenges in post-COVID leadership. And what they had to tell us was that they were really concerned that a high proportion of their executives, the top 200 or 300, and these big European companies, were basically obsolete for 2 reasons. One, they wanted to go back to command and control, and people weren't willing to do that. And secondly, they could not think systemically. They were linear thinkers. Yeah, and the big question is, to what extent can you train somebody to think systemically? And I think it's analogous to the degree to which you can teach somebody to do advanced algebra, for example. So
Right.
you can teach most people to add up a few, to add up a numbers, or to calculate, to sort the coins out. So, although I have a son with learning disability and he has no idea, and but that's okay. But there's a level at which we get where we have the intellectual capacity to be able to deal with greater complexity. I think that's where coaches are going. I think there will still be roles for coaches at that very basic level, but they probably won't be in paid environments, or environments where you're paid to be a coach. To be part of a more supportive environment, like working with kids in deprived circumstances in inner cities, for example, where it's the relationship that counts, rather
Right.
than technique comes second.
Do you think there's going to be a need for, I don't know whether it's definition or the need for a new term, because
I'm sorry, I didn't quite.
Confusing from the client's perspective. If three people sit in front of you and say we're all coaches, but actually they're all completely different.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I didn't quite get the question.
Okay, my question is there a need to redefine coaching?
Oh, yeah,
or create a new label?
Yes. Sorry. Yeah, I think we're doing that all the time. I think we are recognizing that coaching. I mean, coaching. We don't even see the word coaching in relation to people in work, apart from in the sense of apprenticeships. But we don't really see that word used until the 1980s. So
no, that's true.
It's very new, and it's still evolving, and we're trying to get some clarity around what is it. We talk about the big movements in coaching at the moment, but so that there's the decolonization and the democratization of coaching. So decolonization, taking away this idea that it's the dominance of particular cultures, particularly the monoculture of North America over coaching, but also the democratization. How do we get it to people who can't afford it?
Yeah.
To the places, to the villages around there. And we have a project at the moment which is part funded by AMCC, to create 5 million school-age coaches and mentors around the world.
Right.
We want to get it out, to get people these skills at a very early age.
And specifically, then, what would be those skills for school age?
Well, when you boil it down, it's about really listening to somebody else and caring for them, and knowing how to help without being intrusive. So it's pretty basic stuff at that level, and learning how to understand when it's appropriate to give context and when not. So that the kids get these skills very quickly, probably quicker than many adults.
Yeah.
There's a whole chapter in the background materials for the kids on how to mentor your parents.
Right.
Yeah. That's it.
It's really interesting, because this is an area of growth for us. So I would say about 20% of our work is now working with young people, and there was a lot of cynicism, when people were talking about us going into schools, including junior schools, and trying to explain the mental toughness concept. And people said, "Oh, they'll never get it." They do. Their minds are open.
Yeah.
They're fascinated by a new idea. They don't have any previous experience. We have more trouble with adults introducing a new idea to them than we ever do with children.
Yeah. That would certainly fit with my experience too.
Yeah.
There was a nice piece in Rory McIlroy recently given a press conference. He said that a few days prior he'd been going out to see his coach for a golf lesson. So he said to his daughter Poppy, like when she said she's about 4 or 5, I think. Said, "Oh, where are you going?" He said, "I'm off for a golf lesson." And she said, "But Daddy, you already know how to play golf." And he said, I needed that. I kind of went away thinking, actually, like, I do, yeah. Because he kind of just learned to be so, I don't know, critical of himself.
Yeah.
That kind of childhood sense of, yeah, but I can do that.
Yes. It's wonderful.
David, you're doing some remarkable things. I mean, I've always been vaguely aware of your work, and I've obviously followed your work. I hadn't quite realised that you were digging so deep into coaching and mentoring and moving the topic along at such a rate. You're doing some pretty wonderful things, and I do think you're going to. I mean, people also listen to you, so you have the potential for creating that disruption that is necessary.
Well, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. The EMCC was very, very powerful in setting some pretty objective standards. I agree with you about the ICF. It's got a particular take on the world of coaching. But the EMCC took a much broader perspective on coaching. Do you think there's a need to redefine some standards now?
Oh, I think it's a constant need because things are changing around us, as we've already said.
Yeah.
So we need to be able to take into account the impact of AI, for example.
Yeah.
So in a few years' time, it'll be normal for us to have a coach AI partnership. So
I completely agree with that, David, because I think what we do, what John and I and others are doing with psychometrics, is we are trying to bring another kind of technology into play. That, so we've spoken about the use of psychometrics, but a good psychometric that is based on a reasonably solid model is like bringing a third person into the discussion.
Yes.
And that can be incredibly useful. People tend to forget that in coaching, a third person can be quite useful sometimes.
Yeah. Yes. It's why in team coaching, we always have to, typically we have two team coaches.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. One person is there in front of the room facilitating the conversation. The other person is observing what's going on.
Right. Of course. Because there's such a lot that's going on as well. There's no way that the first coach can keep an eye on everything.
Exactly. And your AI, to some extent, can play that role as in the discussion, just noting things, catching observation to the extent of of catching body language or micro expressions, or tone, or reminding you that actually that this is a theme that's come up before with this person, or this person keeps using this phrase. Have you noticed that? That kind of thing. So, and then analyzing it, so what can you learn from that particular session? The AI, when it's properly programmed, can give you all sorts of information to help you with your reflections and what you take to supervision.
I've just seen that in play. I did a piece of work a week or so ago where the facilitator used a word picture creation program, just listening to people it was quite a big group. And it was really interesting to see what terms and what phrases were the most commonly used, because it gave an understanding of the way that people were perceiving things. So I can easily see that technology will have a big impact.
I'm smiling because a lot of the time where I do my work, it's in, it's a sports team in a room. So I'm just thinking, what kind of words would be coming up on screen?
Yes.
How interesting. Yes.
So would you see then, David, that as I suppose the next big evolution? I'm conscious that there wouldn't be anybody else around who's seen the evolution of coaching and mentoring quite as closely as yourself. Other than AI, over the next kind of decade, what do you see as the sort of the big developments in the area?
Well, I certainly think we're going to see a lot more emphasis on systemic awareness. Because if we're going to help leaders become more, in the organizations become more systemically competent, we've got to be pretty competent ourselves.
Yeah.
So we'll certainly see a lot more of that. We're starting to see team of teams work. I've got one particular project at the moment with a global company where we're looking at a team of teams and the complexities of that interaction. So we're extending the boundaries of what we're working in. And I think to just being much clearer about what coaching is there for, how it can add value to the world. So things like the Coaches Climate Alliance, for example. Yeah. These are all the kind of movements where coaches are looking at how they add value. And I think we are seeing a difference there between what I would call serious coaches. And I don't mean serious just because they're practice, but they're serious because they are concerned about how can I make a difference?
Yeah.
And I think that's a wonderful journey that we're all on.
So that kind of, that really makes sense then when you talk about sort of systemic awareness of if as a coach we're to try and get people to examine all their perspectives and consider where they're going and what they want to achieve and how they get there and where their sort of sense of mastery and well-being and everything else comes from. Yeah, you kind of have to have that yourself. I'm just not thinking, well, what is, how am I actually? And I suppose then it separates the ones who are seeking to kind of get out of there making a quick buck versus the coaches that are regularly reflecting and thinking, how am I using my time to have the greatest positive impact?
Yeah, I mean, if all you're doing as a coach is helping a bunch of already overpaid mid or senior level executives, many of whom will be high narcissists, perhaps even sociopaths, gets one level higher in a corporate hierarchy, is that really the legacy that you want to leave?
Yeah.
David, I think this has been a remarkable discussion. I think you've left me with my mind swirling because I like to think that people like to... Sorry?
That's the dementia.
Thank you, John. So I mean, we're quite proud of our ability to kind of constantly push back boundaries, but you've certainly stretched a few new boundaries for us here, David. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, I've taken a ton of notes. Thanks a million, David. That was really insightful and great fun.
Thank you, David. Thank you very, very much.
Cheers.